Good day, Scott Campbell, and I'm continuing my series, A Christian Pastor in Quebec. I know some things might touch the English-speaking community a little less, but I'm finding quite a few English speakers that I know here in Quebec are watching or listening to these videos, and so they are quite aware of many of the situations that I'm talking about. And today, I'd like to just bring up, there's a very well-known, actually I think the most popular Quebec television talk show called Tout le Monde Parle. It's on Sunday night from like 8 to 10. It means everybody's speaking about it. And this past Sunday night, the 16th of October, there was a very disturbing segment. Actually, two parts. One, they had two women who had been sexually aggressed on the show, and they they talked about what's going on in Quebec with dealing with sexual aggression, etc. And also, and this was even more disturbing, they had a woman from Yemen on the show who, at the age of 11 years old, was married off to a man much older. And eventually she was able to get a divorce, leave the country. She's now has another life partner, and so she's writing about this type of activity that obviously is disturbing, is evil. Can I just say that? It's evil. How can we have 9, 10, 11-year-old girls being sold into bondage, really? I wouldn't call it marriage. So it was a very disturbing time, and it just made me reflect again on the importance of understanding who we are, understanding our origins, and Genesis 1 and 2, the very first book of the Bible, the very first 2 chapters, is quite clear about our origins. We're not here by accident. We're not some composite of chemicals and DNA that's just come out of nowhere. It says God made us in His image, and the image of God, when He made us, we were made male and female, man and woman. And so right off the start, you see men are made in God's image, women are made in God's image, and together they most fully, if I can put it that way, represent, manifest, demonstrate God's image. God is Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. And so there's in the Trinity, there's a unity and a plurality. And that is shown in how God made people. And so we have this high calling, we have this high value, being made in the image of God. And so being made in the image of God, we should never be encountering or never be living, never perpetrating sexual aggression. They mentioned as well, it's not only women, obviously, who are the victims of sexual aggression. Men are the victims. Usually in that case, it's a male aggressing another male, okay? But we should not be living this way. And God makes us and says to us together, He says to the man and the woman, now listen, do 2 things. Populate, okay? Build new people, create new people, children, and take my image throughout the earth. That's what God wanted. He made us in His image, and then He wanted His image to fill this earth. So God's way of looking at things, God's love and His will. And yet, of course, we are free agents. Okay, so He said, please, do this. He also said, together, govern the world. Now, the key concept there is together. We are complementary beings. We are teammates. We are to be partners. And so, once again, the idea of the war of the sexes, or the idea of men or women aggressing each other, is totally, totally out of God's original plan. And so, as I said, I found this so disturbing. And as a pastor, I've tried to teach the people in the church this high view of our individual, being us as individuals are created in God's image, and then a high view of marriage. Because in Genesis 2, we see the man and the woman are to be joined in a lifelong relationship that is exclusive, in which they felt no shame, in which they were to build then a future, and as I said, obviously create children, etc. And this is what we're called to. So it's like the opposite of sexual aggression. It's very much the opposite of taking a pre-adolescent girl and marrying her. And we have to call it what it is. And this happened in Yemen. It happens in other Arab countries. It happens in many non-Christian cultures. It happens, especially in the Muslim world. We have to say that. And I believe it happens as well in cultures like in India and some other places where it might be Hindu. These religions are not teaching this high level of God's original plan, and therefore we do not live it out properly. And to bring it right home to Quebec, and I'll just finish with this, we all know, we who live in Quebec, know how much the traditional church here injured this high level of marriage, high level of God's view of the teamwork in marriage and in the family, by making their holiest people, forcing them to be celibate, forcing them. And so what happened is we saw people, as their sexual drives got the better of them, or they misused them. So you had celibate, supposedly clergy, injuring others. Pedophilia, homosexuality, and others. This in Quebec has been an epidemic, and all Quebecers know it. And it's a shame. It's a shame to the Christian church, or to the church, people that should be living differently. It's a big topic, but that's what touched